What does this day bring, Ata?
Sun all day.
Actually, my app says it's going to rain at noon.
Sun.
Rain!
Sun!
Rain!
Listen, I am going to buy my own boat. Who is with me? Give me my fish.
Hey, you, down here in the bucket.
Me?
Do you see another old man looking at me?
Stop talking and go back to being a fish.
Come and dead me.
I will.
If I jump out of this bucket, I will slap you with my fin. Slap, slap, slap. You have to stroke it, then poke it.
You want to join?
Yes.
Do I get a wish?
No,
You just talk.
I'm sorry. Is that not like cool enough for you?
He would like to apply for a loan.
We can only consider a 3-year payback plan.
You think I will die in 3 years?
No.
Oh, she paused.
Papa.
That fish is very rare. How much?
Priceless.
I need a message first.
The message is, eat me.
We are screwed. Trust me, gambling is like swimming. It's in my DNA.
Where is Kobe?
I miss his Jesus fish.
One thing about being Olu is we always value the ones we love.
Wow. So, one trip to Accra, and the man has become a poet.
Shut up!
From the Man of Steel's next chapter in the Superman saga to a horror's master's vision delayed and a groundbreaking zero-budget Ghanaian film, we are covering the entire spectrum of global cinema today. Welcome to the Film Mandate. And in today's story, James Gunn has unveiled Man of Tomorrow as the next chapter in the Superman saga. And Jordan Peele's movie right after Nope has been taken off the release schedule by Universal. And last but not the least, a young Ghanaian filmmaker is embarking on shooting Ghana's first zero-budget action big blockbuster film. We'll be delving into all these stories and more right here on the Film Mandate. My name is Papa Otu. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to the Film Mandate, where I bring to you movie news, reviews, and reactions, both from the African front and the international scene. So, just as you saw, the very first video, the trailer that I showed you is that of the fisherman, and I was fortunate to have worked on it, and it's coming into the cinema soon on September 19th, which is a Friday, barely 2 weeks from today. So it's just to make you aware of this Ghanaian film, Comedy and Myth, directed by Zoe Martinson, and it has won several awards, having gone on the film festival circuit. So I thought I would share the good news of it going to be, it's being premiered come September 19th in Ghana, both at both Silverbirds multiplexes, whether in Accra or you're talking about the West Hills Mall on the Castle Road. So you can go and watch it if you have the time come September 19th. And I think the fee is 100 cedis. So, it's just an invitation, extending, invitation to all of you to go and watch it and support this Ghanaian film. So let's delve into our very, very first story. And in our very first story, for a lot of us, we have the opportunity to watch the newly rebooted DC universe, now with a proper studio setup and the head being James Gunn. And for all those who know James Gunn, started out as a writer and director, having done films like Slither, even wrote Army of the Dead, and did direct the Guardians of the Galaxy at Marvel, and it was phenomenal. And he did direct the Suicide Squad, and also recently has directed the DC Superman and which has crossed the $600 million mark. And that is quite exciting. I'm sure Warner Brothers and DC really didn't think they could cross that margin. Well, it looks like with this newfound success and the plans they already have going on, he has announced that Man of Steel is the next movie after the Superman saga. Although he's been hinting on this for quite a while, it is until I think just a day or today that he did announce that is going to shoot Man of Steel with a possible release date in 2027. Well, let's take a look at an article published in the Hollywood Reporter that gives us much more details as to this development. So James Gunn unveils Man of Steel as his Superman follow-up. And that is him in your short. And this is written by Aaron Couch and Boris Kitt. So James Gunn has unveiled the next project in a Superman saga, Man of Tomorrow, will be in theaters July 9th, 2027. The filmmaker revealed on Instagram on Wednesday. The announcement was accompanied by a drawing by DC head Jim Lee featuring Lex Luthor in a green and purple mech suit with Superman leaning against him, a slight smile on his face as he holds a screwdriver. Luthor's armored suit designed to battle Superman has been seen for decades in the comics and in animation, but never in live action. Gunn has been teasing this new feature for weeks, saying that his next project won't be a direct sequel to Superman, but will feature characters audiences already know from his summer hit. I've already finished the treatment for the next story in what I'll call the next Superman saga, the Superman saga, Gunn told the Hollywood Reporter last month at the premiere for his TV show Peacemaker. I'm working on that and hopefully going into production on that not too far away from today. It's unclear what the story will be, but there was a Superman Man of Tomorrow animated movie in 2020 that also featured Lobo. Jason Momoa plays the anti-hero in next summer's Supergirl. The animated movie was based on a 2003 miniseries titled Superman Birthright that was a modernization of the Superman story. Coming up, DC Studios has filmmaker Craig Gillespie's Supergirl due out June 26, 2026 with James Watkins horror with title Clayface slated for September 11, 2026. Gunn is coming off Superman, which earned strong reviews and introduced a slew of new characters to populate the DC universe, not just Superman David Consworth, Lex Luthor Nicholas Hoult, and Lois Lane Rachel Brosnahan, but heroes such as Guy Gardner Nathan Fillion, Mr. Terrific Eddie Gathegi, and Hawk Girl Isabella Merced. So yeah, that is quite an exciting news that we've had for all DC fans or comic book fans as a whole. And I must say, it is not too surprising seeing the fact that Warner Brothers has, with this success of DC, the Superman movie being the first entry into the newly formed DCU, it does make sense that they would want to quickly follow it up before losing the fervor and passion that audiences have for this particular project. And looking at the past films from the DC itself, and also since Rising Tides, lifts up all ships, also some of the not so successful box office wise movies from Marvel, I'm sure the heads of DC weren't too expectant, or even Warner Brothers as the parent company wasn't so expectant of such box office results. And with that, having found these success, it is of no surprise that they would want to follow it up likewise with a second film. Obviously, 2 years from today isn't too far off, but within that period of looking at movie production, it does make sense. It is a reasonable time to have it in. July, you are looking at July 9th, which is 2027, which is 2 years, almost 2 years from the time of release of the Man of Steel itself. So it does make sense, and looks like exactly a year from when, not exactly, but almost an exact year from when Man of Superman was released will be Woman of Tomorrow, which is Supergirl. And I think they want to make sure it is quite consistent in terms of its releases. And it does make sense. But I like the approach that James Gunn is going about this entire DCU, in a sense that his focus is ensuring that the story being told, or the script itself is formidable before production begins, rather than have a script that is not fully realized and go on set and have to, there would have to be tweaks. Of course, with every production, it looks like now the norm is to factor in reshoots. So there is there is the potential to always go back on set and work out some things into the script. But his approach is to ensure that everything is solid before you go into production. And it is quite interesting because the approach with which they are going, I mean, this particular project, the Man of Tomorrow, he has already hinted that it wouldn't be a direct sequel to Man of Steel. I mean, not Man of Steel, but Superman. And I don't know whether they've worked out well why it shouldn't be so. And my concern is how audiences didn't really receive well a sequel to, they were expectant of a sequel to Man of Steel, but it ended up being Batman versus Superman. And a lot of people who were diehard fans weren't so happy about it. So I'm sure whatever lessons they might have learned from the past, they are correcting it well here to ensure that it doesn't, throw certain fans off. But obviously, it looks like Man of Tomorrow, even though it may not be a direct sequel, still follows or still may follow from the story of the Superman that was shown a couple of months ago. So already they've dropped the what's it called, a picture of the perhaps what the concept may be about, and it has to do with Lex Luthor and the Man of Steel himself. Let me project what they shared. Yeah, so I don't know what is. Yeah, so in your shot, you can see Lex Luthor in his iconic green and purple and green armor suit, and there you have David Consworth's Superman holding a screwdriver with a smile on his face. So obviously, it looks like they, one way or the other, they might patch, bury the hatchet to an extent, because you never know what may be going on in the mind of Lex Luthor. Looking at this image already, you can see that Lex Luthor is really very serious, hell bent on whatever mission he may be on. But Superman is his usual affable self. So they will be working together, but it still gives me a little bit vibe of how Batman, in Batman vs Superman, you had Ben Affleck's Batman, Wayne going against Superman, and later they patched up just to fight, Doomsday. So I don't know how this would actually go, but it looks like it is something that we are yet to see how the story will go about. But obviously, the possibility of them working together, if you are going to deduce any story or hint from this picture, it's very high. The very likelihood that they may work together is very high. And with James Gunn already stating that this story would involve so many other characters from the Superman movie that we watched, you're talking about Guy Gardner and then Mr. Terrific and Hawkgirl. It's very possible that it's going to be more of a team movie than a central focus being on Superman. Already in Superman, if you watch the movie, it still had the semblance of the team supporting him one way or the other, but it still ended up being his movie. That is, Clark Kent's movie or Superman's movie, Kal-El's movie. So obviously, this may go different from what we had in the past because it is, Man of Tomorrow. As to whether it may be the Man of Tomorrow is referring directly to Superman himself or maybe Lex Luthor, we cannot tell at the moment. But I think with the success of Superman, it looks like people, the characters in the film are well received. Particularly, perhaps this Superman is far well received than what we had in Man of Steel of Henry Cavill. I, for one, I still like, Henry Cavill, Superman, and I like the approach with which the James Gunn went about this. And the whole idea of the film, if you watch the entire Superman film, it feels very deliberate to go in a quasi opposite direction, from what we saw in the Man of Steel. And it almost has certain similarities with Man of Steel to an extent, but on a very lighter, bubbly note as compared to that's what we from what we saw in the Man of Steel. So yeah, it being the top grossing comic book movie of the year so far, it does mean that, listen, definitely they have reset the universe the way they want it. And going forward, no reference whatsoever will be given or attention will be given to whether it is successful enough to take over the DCEU. Now, as it seems, it looks like the DCU is successful and they are going on full gear with whatever plans they have in mind for the DCU. So it is quite interesting. And the Superman movie till date has made $611 million worldwide. And that is really, really successful. Coming off, I think, a $220 million budget. They have not only broken even, but they have made, their money, made some profit off the budget itself. So that is quite an interesting take on it. And I think going forward, the key question would be who's going to be the major villain for this particular production. That is what is left to be discussed. In the first one, we had Lex Luthor and the Hammer of, I'm forgotten the name of the country or the city, the fictional city in the film. But then it presupposes that Lex Luthor won't be the next villain. Maybe they may be at loggerheads from the very beginning of the movie, but going forward, it may be a different villain altogether. I'm sure some of the names that may come to mind is Doomsday, but Doomsday was recently used in Batman vs Superman, even in the TV series Lois and Superman or so. It also had, Doomsday in it. Maybe they could go in the vein of Brainiac or Genazod, but Genazod also was explored in Man of Steel. So I'm sure, knowing who James Gunn is, he may come up with a villain that we have no idea or never anticipated would be him. Brainiac is much of a possibility because we haven't really seen much of Brainiac in anything, in any live action rendition yet. I think the close one we nearly saw was going to be in, I think, Supergirl also. So there are still more options to explore when it comes to the possible villain, a very worthy opponent for Superman. And the interesting aspect is that if Lex Luthor sort of works alongside Superman, it means that whatever villain we're going to have in this would be far powerful even than Superman, maybe not just in strength, but intellect, as we know that Lex Luthor is very, one of the, I think, the most intellectual individual in the DC universe itself. So, well, there's a lot to explore, and I'm sure James Gunn is keeping the lid on it tight for nobody to know what exactly he has in store for us, just as he was able to do with the Hammer of Baravia or something. I think that's the name of the country. So it is quite interesting to know what he has in store for us. And I, for one, I watched the Superman. I enjoyed it, and I'd like to see where they go from there. So I am interested in seeing what they have in mind and what ideological differences. How would these two individuals work together as Lex Luthor hates everything about Superman in that movie? I don't know whether his prison sentence will give him a kind of reformation to be able to say, okay, understand what Superman is about, and I will support him. So let me know what you think about this new development with regards to the Man of Tomorrow and Gunn's take on the stated themes of kindness and hope. You know, if you watch the film, the new punk rock now is being kind, to humanity. Let me know what you think by leaving your thoughts in the comment section down below. And moving on from the first story, well, before I progress to the next story, seeing that the Oscar race is already beginning, I have come up with a new segment called the Oscar Minute, where every country that releases information about the next best feature, international feature, I want to cover it here. So we have one for today, and in today's session, we have Japan coming up with this. And it says it is a movie about a kabuki theater. It's a surprise hit in soul-searching Japan. And this is what it has to say. So this is written by Yuri Kagiyama. It says that a 3-hour film about the esoteric world of kabuki is defying the odds at the Japanese box office, with tickets selling out at cinemas. Kokuho, which means National Treasure, has already grossed more than 10 billion yen, that is $68 million, making it the second highest grossing Japanese live-action film of all time, and the first to achieve that in more than 2 decades. It stars heartthrobs Ryo Yoshizawa and Ryusei Yokohama, who portray longtime rivals and soulmates. They are both kabuki onagata actors, meaning they specialize in women roles, from gorgeous princess to damsels in distress. They look stunning and convincing, having gone through months of training with a real kabuki actor. Japan has submitted a film for the international feature category at the Academy Awards. The short list of the 15 films from which the final nominations come will be announced December 16th. So yeah, Japan has submitted their own film for the best international feature. For yesterday's edition that I did of the Oscar Minute, South Korea submitted No Other Choice as their best international feature, and now we have another Asian country, Japan, submitting theirs for the Oscar. So there you have it for the Oscar Minute for today's episode. So moving on to the very second story, undoubtedly, Jordan Peele is one of, when it comes to horror films, he is really an authority, a master in that field, having released films like Get Out, starring, I keep forgetting his name, Daniel Kaluuya. So starring Daniel Kaluuya, followed by S, which starred Lupita Nyong'o, and also he followed with Nope, that starred Daniel Kaluuya again and Kiki Palmer. Well, a lot of us have been in expectancy of this fourth film. Unfortunately, it has delayed, and this can be found in an article published in the Variety website that says that Jordan Peele's next movie after Nope, removed from 2026 release by Universal, written by Adam B. Vary and Matt Donnelly, and that is Jordan Peele in your shot. Jordan Peele's fourth film as a director appears to be taking longer than expected. Universal Pictures has on set the Oscar winner's next project from its release calendar, which was last dated for October 2026. Peele is currently at work on the film, which has yet to roll cameras. An individual familiar with the project told Variety. Originally, the follow-up to his 2022 hit movie Nope was scheduled to open on over Christmas 2024. Following the Guild strikes, the film was then pushed to next Halloween. Universal had no comment. Reps for Peele did not immediately respond to a request for comment. So yeah, there you have it. Unfortunately, it looks like we do not know when the next Jordan Peele movie would be showing in the cinemas, as it's been taken off the October 26, 2026 release date. The possible logic would be that it may go into a 2027 calendar, and that is the likelihood. But since they haven't even started rolling the cameras, that is the very possible date that we are likely to have, to see his next film, then his next directorial film in that vein. However, in as much as we are not going to see any film directed by him in the near future, he still has a film releasing soon. I think next month, if I'm not mistaken. Let me confirm the date. Yeah, I think next month no, I think even this month, if I'm not mistaken. I will confirm the date and let you know. But then he does have a film that is coming up. Yeah, I think this month, September 19th, which is him. And this film, actually, he is producing the film. He's not directing, but producing the film. And so, in as much as we are not getting any film directed by him coming soon, we will still have a film that he is actually a producer on it. And that film has some interesting themes and, an angle to it. And I think that would actually, for now, occupy the gap for us as we still await his film, because there is something about his film. He has this approach to his films that are auteur driven. It feels like an independent film, and yet he approaches it with that expertise with it that still has that commercial angle to it. And it is something that you cannot take away from Jordan Peele. Having watched his film Get Out, S to Nope, it is quite an interesting thing with it. And all of these films always have a twist to it. That plot twist is what keeps us going for more, whenever he releases his films. And it looks like that is quite an interesting thing with a lot of horror films, particularly those who have that auteur angle to it. If you watch the films of M. Night Shyamalan, he always has this plot twist that will keep you wondering, how come you never spotted it all along? And one of the most amazing plot twists you can ever watch in any film by M. Night Shyamalan is The Sixth Sense, with Bruce Willis, and I've forgotten the young chap's name at the time. But it's a plot twist that when you get to know, it changes the whole perspective of how you saw the film, and you would want to watch it all over again. Same thing was achieved in S, the film S, and you keep watching and you're wondering, wow, how come you never spotted it all along? He had a little bit of that twist as well in Get Out, that starred Daniel Kaluuya. So we are a little bit heartbroken by the fact that we are not going to see it come October 2026. However, we'll still comfort ourselves with the film Him, that has everybody raving about Marlon Wayans' performance to be one of the supporting acts to look forward to. So yeah, we would comfort ourselves with that for now and hope that soon enough there will be a new announcement as to the next possible date as to when his fourth film will be released. But yeah, that is something we are looking forward to because of the cultural seismic, hit his film always get to be whenever it's released in the box office. And that's something that we are looking forward to. So let me know what you think. Do you think the delay is as a result of perhaps him tweaking the story further, fleshing it out for something else, or there could be any other reason that we may not be aware? Whatever your thoughts may be, kindly leave it in the comment section down below. And now to our final story of the day. The film business or the movie industry itself is a capital intensive industry, and no project, every project comes with with a lot of demands, in terms of money. And even if you don't get the entire money, you would have to negotiate with all parties involved and see how best you can go about achieving the goal of shooting the film in the vision of the director or the producer, or rather, and the producer. Well, there is a youngster in Ghana that is bent on shooting a blockbuster action film with zero budget. And this story has been captured in the City Newsroom website. And this is what it has to say: that young Ghanaian filmmaker set to shoot Ghana's first zero-budget action blockbuster, and is written by William Na. And the movie is already titled as Trigger, coming soon, to be directed by Richmond Roxon, who is the 22-year-old Ghanaian filmmaker bent on achieving his vision regardless of whether he has the funding or not. And I like his spirit. Well, he says that a bold new chapter may be unfolding in Ghana's film industry as a group of young creatives under Rock Films Africa prepare to shoot what could become the country's first action blockbuster produced entirely without a budget. The film, titled Trigger, is spearheaded by 22-year-old director Richmond Roxon, popularly known as Cutest Albino. Despite limited resources, Roxon says he is determined to prove that creativity, teamwork, and vision are enough to break barriers and place Ghanaian cinema on the global stage. And that is Roxon facing the camera in the picture. So the Ghana movie industry is struggling, and everyone keeps waiting for investors or big sponsors. But I'm not waiting. I'm shooting this movie with or without an investor. Passion and vision are enough to start, and nothing will stop us, Roxon said. Trigger promises a gripping action, intense drama, and a storyline of betrayal and survival, blending local themes with international cinematic techniques. If completed, it will be the first Ghanaian action blockbuster produced entirely on a zero-budget model, powered solely by young talent and dedication. Rock Films Africa said while production has already begun without financial backing, the team is open to sponsorships, partnerships, and product placement opportunities. And that is him again in your shot. Yeah, so I mean, I like the zeal and the fact that he already has a team of like-minded individuals who are determined to get this done. And I must say that usually when a film project is said to have zero budget, it does not necessarily mean no money is involved. Maybe in terms of proper or documentation as to a film having a proper structured budget, that can be termed as such. But regardless, there is still what I would call, if not physical cash, there is still capital in terms of talent, resources, and a whole lot. So there may not be physical cash involved, but at the end of the day, there's still going to be some form of expenses that would go into the production, because for even the individuals to travel to and fro from wherever they may be to gather on set, to the meals that has to be eaten to keep the crew and the cast energized to keep on shooting day after day, to whatever logistics that they will be using, even if it is not rented out to whatever team may be involved in the production, there is still some form of capital, involved. But this time, not in terms of finances, but in terms of logistics. So, yes, there could be a production termed as a zero budget. However, regardless, there is still capital in different forms that is involved in this production. So I still understand the fact that yes, this film can be termed as a zero budget, and zero budget because I'm sure he's well networked to get this done, and I applaud him for that. You don't have to wait till you get all the finances or the money to get your film projects going. But my hope and anticipation is that they have worked out, all the kinks with the hope that they will not go shooting and be locked, at a point in time when they are on the project, because you would have to pull all the necessary resource. I think even today it makes it much more possible because with the advent of AI, or I would say affordable softwares, or even in certain cases free softwares that you could use, something like Blender, provided there's a skilled person who can pull off, how to use the technology well, you could still cut down on your budget for your production massively. So yeah, it is quite possible. As to whether it can be a blockbuster, that is another question or discussion altogether, because blockbuster actually involves quite a lot to be termed as such. And my concern is that it being action, my concern is how safe is the technique, is the approach. I mean, because you're talking about action film, I don't know whether it involves picture vehicles, it involves certain harnesses and all that. So safety should also be of concern when it comes to shooting an action film. And I hope they have the necessary experts who will be there to ensure that nothing goes wrong in the process of shooting this film. So that is what I'm hoping that they've been able to work out. Otherwise, having a zero budget production is a perfect thing. But being a blockbuster and being an action film definitely would involve some form of caution, and that would also involve some form of money to make sure that the necessary security and checks and balances are put in place so that nothing goes wrong. And that is my hope and anticipation, that he's done the background work to make that happen. But I like the fact that he's made it known that he's shooting it with or without the finances available. And I think with this made known, already being published in City Newsroom, one of Ghana's prominent, I think, media houses, it does give him a little exposure with the hope that whilst they are still shooting, sponsors or partners can come on board and lend a helping hand one way or the other to make that happen. So I'm excited about his approach and his zeal to make this happen. However, I'm hoping that the necessary precautions have been put in place to ensure that everyone is safe, from director to writer, to every crew member and every cast member, is safe, to ensure that things go on as planned. And my hope is that he's able to achieve what he set out to do, because we need a lot of people to, a lot of filmmakers with this zeal to make that happen. And I'm sure he knows the scope of his budget, and he has the team who are determined like himself to ensure that they achieve whatever they have set out to do. So congrats to Richmond, Roxanne, and Rock Films Africa for having such a zeal. And I like his passion. And if you read the entire article, he did say that one of his desire is to be one of Africa's leading filmmakers. And my hope is that he does achieve that. He does achieve that, because it is something that we need for not just Africa. My hope is that it doesn't just end up being one of Africa's leading filmmakers, but it should aim for the world at large, because we need voices out there to compete on the global stage. And I think with this attitude, he can really go far. He can really go far. So kudos to him and his team. and we'll be praying for him to make sure he achieve his vision, whichever way possible. And I hope that for the those who have the network to make things quite easy for him, if you happen to hear this news, please do well to support him, because in the creative space, it's great to have people with such passion and determination to achieve it at all cost necessary. And I'm happy for Roxanne, and I'm hoping that perhaps with some of the initiatives being done by SG, Bank and other places, they may be able to see this and lend a supporting hand to him and his team. So congratulations to him once again for embarking on this massive project, and I pray he succeeds in its entirety. So yeah, let me know what you think about this pure, unfiltrated passion by Roxanne to get this film done. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. And so far, we have come to an end to this episode of the Film Mandate, where we talked about James Gunn's, next chapter in the Superman saga, titled "The Man of Tomorrow." As to whether the title will change, we do not know yet. But also, Jordan Peele's film have been taken off the October 2026 release schedule. We're still hoping that soon enough, some news, a new announcement as to the new dates will be announced. And last but not the least, Richmond Roxanne has of Rock Films Africa has made known that he's bent on shooting his film with a zero budget, and that is going to be an action film. Well, these are the stories for today. All too soon, I've come to an end of this episode, and thanks so much for joining me for this live stream of the Film Mandate. I'll be coming your way tomorrow again with another exciting episode of the Film Mandate. I'll see you soon.